Hello! Today we are going to make a needle case, a slow stitch, hand stitched needle case, and this is one that I made for myself and it's very easy to make. You can embellish it as you wish, and it's just a handy little purse that keeps your scissors and your needles and pins and what have you all together. And you've got a little pocket here to put your needles in. And so yeah, this is what we're going to try and make today. I'm going to show you how I do it, and also before we start I'm going to show you the very first one that I made, just to give you some ideas about how you can embellish them. So this was the first one I made, and I embroidered needles down it, and I put a bit of lace on, etc. It's the same kind of idea. It's got a bit of felt. I made a little pocket there to put things in, and a pin cushiony thing. This can be a pin cushion too, actually. Oops. I think that's what I used it for. So yeah. But then I kind of improved the design, which is what happens as you go. And I'm actually going to improve slightly on this one as well, but I'll show you. So right, these have come from the wonderful Creative Junk. I love going in there, and these are basically samples of upholstery fabric. So they're quite strong. They feel quite velvety, but they're not velvet. So what I like about them is that they've all got the edges done. I don't know what the term for that is. But so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cut. I've created a design where I don't have to cut it, so I make use of that edging. It's done for me. So it's all about planning. So we'll get this one. So you can see that there are 3 bits that we're using, and this is what you need to do. So this is going to be the outer bit, like that. Then so you're going to need to watch this carefully, because it's all to do with the way this is laid out, how it works. So you're going to stagger the 3 materials like this. Okay, and then you're going to fold this one about that much in. Okay, and then what's going to happen is this is going to be your center. Is that going to work? Hang on, let's look. This is going to be your center. This is going to be the bit that folds over to keep your scissors in. Then the whole thing will fold over like that, and this will come over and secure it. So we'll do that again. You've got the 3 pieces. You're going to place that piece, and that's going to be the center, roughly. And this is going to come over like that. Okay. Now, it's all about planning, because you're going to want to sew bits on before you construct it together. So under here I've got some card, and I'm going to use card to reinforce one side. So I'll need to measure it to be that side, because it's going to sit in here and we're going to stitch all the way around it. So basically you won't have a pocket there, this will be stitched around to hold the card in place. So that's one thing we're going to do. And then another thing we're going to do is we're going to think about where we're going to put the paw that's going to hold your scissors. So let's think. This doesn't have to be a paw, of course. I just got these cute little embroidery things, and I thought it'd be fun for it to be coming out like that. So yeah, it's going to be there, isn't it? So you're going to sew that on, and you're also going to think about putting a pin cushiony thing. I'm going to reuse this one actually. I'm going to pick it off because I think I'm going to throw this one away now. It's done its dash. I might be able to rescue this, so we'll see. So you're going to think about the things that you're going to put on there, and you're going to do it before you construct, before you start sewing up the edges, you see. Another thing you're going to want to put on is just a bit of felt. I'm just going to do one strip this time, but you'll measure it so it goes in here. And then you'll need a bit of braid to hide the stitches at the top. I'm all for that. I'll stitch it and then I'll hide it with a bit of braid. It looks quite cute. This is hiding where I've sewn the two together, and this is hiding the stitches on the outside. You're also going to want to, if you're going to embellish, you're going to put that on before you start putting card in, etc. See, it's got card in it, you see. So I'm going to have this, so mine's going to go round like that, it's going to fold over like that, and it's going to come up like that. So I can have my butterfly like that. So I'll need to sew that on before I do anything, I suppose. So I guess I'll need to sew that on, sew this on, measure my card, cut out my felt, and then come back to you before I start stitching the rest of it all together. So hopefully you'll be able to follow what I do. So I've sewn the paw on, and I've sewn this crocheted shape flower, which is going to be my pin cushion. I've also sewn a butterfly on. So I've salvaged this again from the old needlework purse. So I'm just going to sew this on, and I'm just using pearl cotton with quite a thick needle, and I'm hoping I can do it sort of, I'm going to try and do a kind of cross stitch, and the cream is going to match the cream of the flower. So there we are. And that's your little flap for your needles, and I'm just going to finish it off. Like that. So it's gone dark outside, so I hope you can see all right. I've got artificial light on here. So this next bit is I would say the trickiest part, because we're starting to construct the sewing case now. And so you're going to need to cut some card that's going to give this a sort of firm backing. So what I wanted to say as well is that the card that I'm using is from a watercolour pad. So you want something that's quite stiff, and that's what I'm using. So I measured it, and you're going to also have to sort of figure it out, because you're going to have to place it where it's going to go and then see if it's going to fit. So once again, we've staggered these, and the first bit is going to be putting this in place. So you're going to need some space to be able to sew it in. So what I suggest that you do is place it and pin it in. So I'm going to use pins here along this edge. And I'm trying to keep it straight. Along here, pin it. Okay, so that's in there. So we're going to check again that if we then sew this on top and we sew this around, we're going to sew this around like this. So we're positioning it, and then that's the edge of the card. So that's where we'll fold up, and this is going to come over like this. Yes. So the next thing to do is to sew this card in place. And so what I suggest you do is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a nice line, because you won't see this when it's finished. In fact, you can't see it now. That's not very good. Let me do it a bit stronger. There. And you're going to sew that line first. Okay. I'm going to use big chunky thread, because again you won't be able to see it. I'll paste this to one side. And again, I'm trying to line it up as much as possible. I might as well hide the knot. If I put a knot in. Here we go. I'm just going to sew it together. In fact, I won't pin it here. So I've sewn up the middle. Doesn't matter that it's not too tidy, because we're going to hide it. We're going to hide it on the outside as well, so don't worry. The next thing to do is we'll take the pins out and we'll sew these edges very neatly along here, and we'll sew it along here, and then we'll make sure the card fits all right, because we can always trim the card if it doesn't. And then we'll sew up here, but when we're sewing along here we won't let the stitches show on the outside. Right, so that's what we'll do next. And then, gosh, it's getting dark here. It's winter here in New Zealand. So I'll just show you where we've got to. I've just been playing around. I've sewn in the card. Okay, so the next thing is to hide the stitches a bit. So we're going to put some lace along here, correct way up, because when we've constructed it, this is going to be sewn along here, and this is going to be sewn along here, and this is going to be a pocket, and these are going to be folded over and sewn along the top and the bottom, and this is going to be a pocket as well. This is going to come over to here and be sewn, and then we'll sew down the middle to secure this, and this will then fold at that point, and this will fold over. We'll put a buttons. So this, because we're sewn just down the sides, this will be another pocket. You could put a pack of needles in there perhaps. And we will also, I'm going to put that down there. I took that from my old one. So just feel free to embellish as you wish, but think about planning. So I need to put that on before I start sewing it up. And I need to think about spacing of that as well. So we'll probably do it like that, so that I can fit my scissors in. And also, when I sew this up, I'll cover it with something like this and make it look very neat. But the dark is beating me, so I'm going to have to finish this tomorrow for me, but you won't have to wait any time, because you'll be, by the magic of video, it'll be straight into it. So anyway, I'll have to go for now. Back again. Okay, so now on to the next stage. We've put our board in and sewn it to the backing, and now we want to hide these stitches. So I've had a look in my stash, and I've got various bits and pieces, but I think instead of the lace, I'm going to put that in. I'm sorry if it keeps going in and out of focus. I've fiddled around with all the settings, etc. I'm not sure why it's doing it, so I'll try and keep my hand still. So anyway, this is going to be sewn onto here to hide the stitching. And whoops, there it goes again. So you'll see two lines here, and that's because I made a mistake, so that's an error. But what you want to do is find the edge of the board, because that's where I'm going to sew the grey to this, all through the layers actually. You'll have 3 layers there. Now I have pinned this all together because I don't want it moving around. You will find it a little bit fiddly when you're trying to work out where all the layers go, but basically you're going to end up with a pocket here, a pocket here. This is going to fold over like that, and then the whole thing's going to fold over like that, and you'll have a pocket flap there, and that's going to come over. But for now I've chosen that one for there, and now I'm thinking about the middle bit, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a sew along this line through all the layers, and then I need to cover it. So I could cover it with something like this. You'll need to go into your stash and find something pretty. So I'm thinking that would be quite nice because the red goes with the red. But then I looked in and I found this, which is tape, and I thought, how cool would that be to have a little ruler, and then I can use it as a rough measure if I need to. I can measure things against it. So that's what I'm going to do. I will, once I've sewn it all together, I'll put this on top, and when I sew this on top I'll only go into this top layer so the stitches won't show outside. What else? Yeah, I'll do those things and then I'll come back and show you how it's looking then. If you can just put up with this in and out of focus. I think it might be to do with the light, because now that it's daylight it's blazing sunshine, so it's almost too bright. So anyway, hopefully you've seen the kind of thing I'm doing, and I will come back when I've done those things. I just want to come in and show you how this is working. So having that line drawn really helps to, there you go, keep it there. Having the line drawn really helps to keep that line straight when you're stitching it, and you're going through the 3 layers. So you're just going through like that. It comes out here, you can see where I've been, and remember we're going to cover this up anyway, so don't worry too much if that's not neat looking. So you're just going through them like this, on that line. And again I'm using this pearl cotton, which is lovely. That is lovely, and quite a big needle. And so on. Back again. This piece is all about planning and hiding stitches. So I've put this in, and I can see now I need to sew the end because the ends are flapping around a bit, so I'm just going to sew carefully along there and there. And this is sewn down the middle to hide my marks with a pen, and also to hide the stitching from the back. Yes, so the next part will be stitching along this seam, that pocket. So I'm going to just stitch these 2 together, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to fold that to there, and I'm going to stitch along the whole lot. After that I'm going to stitch down these edges. There's a beautiful bellbird outside. I don't know if the sound's picking it up. Yeah. So I think what I'll do is I will stitch with cotton, and then I might go over it to make it a bit more decorative and obvious with a cross stitch, perhaps in a thicker thread like this one. So that's what we're doing. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to remind you about was, before you start doing these final stitches, think about if you want to put anything on the cover, which I do, so I'll show you. Now I would like to put this on. I think it'd look quite nice, but I'm going to do that now before I sew it all down so I can get to the back of it and it'll be easier to sew. So you could do the same thing. You could get a strip or a ribbon and just embroider needles down it, or you could just have a decorative strip of braid. That'll look good. This is another find that I got from the fabulous Creative Junk. I love going there. Or you could put a motif on like that. So it's up to you what you do, but do it now before you've sewn it all together and it'll be so much easier to sew. So off I go, and I shall be back in just a blink of an eye. I just want to show you how I'm sewing this so that I'm hiding my stitches. So I'm sewing this pocket, and what I'm doing is I'm doing a tiny stitch at the front and I'm coming through the middle layer and then I'm travelling with my needle between those and coming up on this side and do a tiny stitch, and again travel along a bit up through, and this way you get to make your pocket but no stitches seen. Whoops! I can't see. No stitches seen at the back. These are just the edging stitches that's on it already. So it's just, I use this quite a lot. So it's just, I use this quite a lot. It's just a neat way, the stitches. Little stabby stitch at the front. Oops. Travel. So on. And there's my pocket. Here it all is sewn together. I've got a pocket there, a little pocket here, and it folds up rather nicely. Oops. And it's going to close like that. So all that's left now is to do the closure, and I thought I would use a button. Oops, it's still going in and out of focus, sorry about that. So what you'll need is something to wrap around it, and by doing a sort of wrap around, as it gets bigger it doesn't matter, it'll still work. I've got this cord. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start sewing it there, sew my button on top, then I'll be able to wrap it around and round the button, and that will be it. So here we are with the finished case. I've started putting the needles in to the flap, the felt flap for needles. And another thing that I did was along the spine I put this strip of embroidery stitching, but you could put anything you wanted down there, ribbon, or I did think about using a butterfly tape. You could do that, or anything you like. I just sewed it with tiny stitches along. And so now I can start filling my needle case. So here we go. Oh, I can't pick that up. One of those little needle threaders goes in there, and scissors go in here. That sits there. I've got one of these stitch rippers, and that can go along here. And that can go along here. Sits in there. Another thing I like to do as well is keep some safety pins handy. So that can be done. Just hook them in here. Oh, if I can get it through. Like that. Then we can have pins. It's always handy to have some pins. That's what this is for. And of course you can also use it for those really big needles. I find that it's quite useful for that. You can sort of thread it through and they'll stay put like that. And then you've got a little pocket here, can go in there. You've got a pocket here too, can go in. I'll keep this because I'll show you another pocket. This folds over, and you've got a pocket on the outside, a little something, and then you can just wrap it round. And there it is, and there's enough there for it to bulge a bit with all your stuff, but that's it, finished. A handy little needle case that will be your very own. It'll have all your own embellishments on it, your own ribbons and choice of buttons and what have you. And all you need to start with is 3 identical sized pieces of fabric. I use these because they were already edged, but all you'd need to do is just edge your own, you know, put a hem on them and good to go. So the dimensions of this are roughly 5.5 inches or 14, hang on, oh, it's nearly 6, so 5.5, 6 inches or 15 centimeters. This is very roughly, because I was constricted by the dimensions of the fabric that I had, but this is about 3 inches wide or 8 centimeters. And yeah, it's a nice little project. I'd say it's a nice weekend project. You'd get that done in a weekend easily. So if you've enjoyed my video, please give me the thumbs up and like and subscribe and share. And I'd love to see if you make one of these yourselves. Send me a link to a picture, that would be awesome. Otherwise, have fun making these. And once again, I must credit Creative Junk. They supply all of the fabric, or most of it actually, and the bits and pieces. It's a fabulous place because not only have I made a very cute little needle case, I've stopped fabric from being just thrown away, and I found a new use for it. So yeah, I'll leave you there, and happy crafting!